Have you ever stopped to consider why certain highly attuned empaths navigate life with a striking absence of close friendships? The immediate conventional judgment suggests a personal defect. Perhaps they are broken, socially inept, or simply incapable of forging lasting bonds. Yet, Carl Jung, the monumental figure in depth psychology, uncovered a truth that completely refutes this assumption. Empaths who maintain a small or non-existent social circle are not experiencing a failure of connection. Instead, they are mastering a process far more potent and uncommon: psychological filtration. This deep dive exploration will reveal the exact characteristics that define these unique individuals. These are the very qualities that unconsciously repel inauthentic individuals and strike fear into the hearts of those concealing their true nature. If you've carried the burden of feeling inherently flawed because friendships perpetually dissolve, prepare for a radical shift in perspective. But before we celebrate these traits, we must first confront the undeniable shadow of the friendless empath. We acknowledge that this path is not inherently peaceful. It is often characterized by loneliness, confusion, and the persistent nagging sense that one is defective. We are socially programmed to equate a large network of acquaintances with personal success, believing that popularity is the benchmark of a life well lived. However, based on Jung's extensive clinical observations, the truth is this: you do not lack friends because you are inherently unlikable. You lack friends because your sheer presence compels others to face their own self-deceptions. The profound unease they experience in your vicinity is not a defect in you. It is the spontaneous eruption of their own repressed shadow material, a level of internal confrontation they are simply unprepared to endure. Consequently, they withdraw. They disappear, ghosting, or they slowly sever ties, leaving you questioning your actions. But you committed no error. You merely operate at an energetic frequency that the majority finds intolerable. Your very essence functions as a potent truth serum, and few people are willing or ready to ingest that dosage of unfiltered honesty. Let me illustrate this with a narrative example that captures the psychological pattern Jung observed repeatedly. Consider a composite case profile based on the patterns he documented. Imagine a person capable of entering any environment and instantaneously registering the precise emotional climate. She could discern who was performing, who was genuinely suffering, and who was actively masking a secret. Crucially, this wasn't clairvoyance. It was a sophisticated form of hyperspeed pattern recognition, a level of processing rarely achieved by others. When her co-workers vented about relational strife, she didn't just hear the words. She saw the entire underlying dynamic unfolding. This perception stemmed not from judgment, but from the sheer clarity of the behavioral patterns. Yet, when she would tentatively articulate these observations, people immediately became defensive, often branding her as overly negative or excessively analytical. Inevitably, within 6 months, the facts she sensed, the betrayals, the stored resentments, the self-deceptions, would erupt into the open. And rather than appreciating her foresight, people would instead shun her, for no one wishes to maintain proximity to the individual who effortlessly penetrates their carefully curated illusions. The inaugural trait Jung categorized among friendless empaths is the shadow mirror effect. To articulate this simply, every individual possesses a shadow, that unintegrated constellation of undesirable traits we suppress: envy, avarice, deep-seated insecurity, rage, or selfishness. Most individuals rigorously repress these elements, wearing sophisticated social masks to project a curated, safe, and acceptable persona. However, the empath's gaze penetrates this facade effortlessly. This isn't a conscious effort. It is an automatic function of a nervous system finely tuned to detect incongruity. When others speak to you, they intuitively sense that you perceive every truth they are hiding, even from themselves. And quite often, you do. You register the fleeting micro-expressions, the subtle vocal tension, the shift in their energetic field when sensitive subjects arise, the fractional hesitation before a response, the manufactured enthusiasm for alleged passions. You are merely observing and processing complex data points. Yet, to the person being observed, this feels like an indictment. Because when you look at someone and acknowledge their shadow, They simultaneously glimpse that reflection within your eyes, and the shock of self-recognition is terrifying. Most people recoil from such intense self-awareness. They actively prefer the company of those who enable their performance, who uphold the illusion, who smile politely and never interrogate the act. That accommodating role is one you cannot fill. This is precisely why they cannot sustain a friendship with you. Proximity to you demands genuine authenticity, a state most people have long since abandoned.
The second defining characteristic is what Jung called the intimacy threshold. For the vast majority, connection is established through superficial exchanges. Commentary on the climate, sports statistics, trivial celebrity gossip, or meaningless small talk that leads nowhere. This modality is inherently safe, demanding zero emotional or intellectual expenditure. But you are constitutionally incapable of such performance. Engaging in protracted, shallow conversation induces a form of internal asphyxiation. When asked, "How are you?" you naturally yearn to articulate the genuine, complex reality, the surge of existential insights, the profound observations about human behavior, or the intricate societal patterns you've discerned. But this is not what they seek. They require the rote script, the automatic, socially sanctioned response that guarantees lightness and ease. So you try. You force yourself to be light and breezy. You talk about the weather, and pretend to care about things that bore you to tears. But the experience feels like inhabiting an ill-fitting costume, struggling to speak a foreign dialect. And people sense that. They sense that you function at a different, intrinsically deeper level. And it scares them because depth necessitates vulnerability. It requires them to take off their mask and show you who they really are. And 90% of people would rather keep the mask on. Empaths aren't broken. They're alchemists in progress. They would rather stay comfortable in the shallows, where genuine feeling and rigorous examination are unnecessary. So they stay there, and you are left standing alone in the profound depths, mystified as to why no one will join you, wondering why everyone seems content to float on the surface when there is so much richness waiting below. The third attribute is the lie detector vibration. This capacity is particularly harsh because it is involuntary and relentless. You perceive inauthenticity as a palpable, visceral sensation registering throughout your nervous system. When someone is lying to themselves, you feel it in your body. It makes your skin crawl. It makes your chest tighten. It makes you want to leave the room immediately. You are not trying to detect lies. You are not playing detective or looking for reasons to judge people. But your sophisticated nervous system automatically registers the fundamental dissonance between stated belief and genuine feeling, between declared words and vibrating energy, between their constructed narrative and their lived reality. And once you feel it, you cannot unfeel it. You cannot unknow what you know. This eliminates most social circles because, let's be real, most people lie to themselves constantly. They stay in jobs they hate and say they are building a career. They stay in relationships that drain them and call it commitment. They abandon their dreams and call it being realistic. They betray themselves every single day and pretend it is fine. And you cannot be around that energy. It is too heavy, too suffocating, too dissonant. Your system rejects it the same way your body rejects spoiled food. So you pull away. You create distance. You stop accepting invitations. And people think you are being difficult or judgmental or antisocial. But you are not. You are just protecting your energy from the weight of everyone else's self-deception. You are refusing to participate in the collective delusion that everything is fine when clearly it is not. The fourth trait Jung identified is psychological hermeticism, the essential concept of necessary withdrawal, a deliberate retreat from the cacophony of the external world. Society tells you that isolation is detrimental, suggesting that to be alone signifies a deficiency, and that psychological health requires perpetual social engagement. But Jung proposed the inverse. He said that for certain individuals, for empaths specifically, solitude is not a manifestation of disorder, it is a requirement for individuation. Individuation is the profound journey toward realizing one's authentic self, stripped bare of all acquired conditioning. And you cannot do that in a crowd. You cannot do that while continuously absorbing everyone else's emotions and expectations and projections. You need space. You need silence. You need time alone to process the overwhelming amount of information your brain takes in every single day. This is not antisocial behavior. This is self-preservation. This is you honoring your need to recharge and recalibrate. Jung called it an incubation period, a time when you withdraw from the noise of the world so you can hear your own voice, so you can integrate all the parts of yourself that society told you to hide, so you can separate what is yours from what you have absorbed from others. And when you emerge from that incubation, you are not the same. You are stronger, more whole, more aligned with your true self, more clear about who you are and what you will no longer tolerate. But society does not understand that. They pathologize your solitude. They call you depressed. They call you weird. They tell you to get out more, make more friends, be more social, go to more parties. But Jung understood. He knew that your isolation is not a prison. It is a fortress, a sacred space where you are building something powerful, where you are becoming someone who cannot be shaken by the opinions of others. Now let's talk about the controversy, because society has very strong opinions about people like you. If you have few friends, they assume you are the problem. They assume you are difficult, antisocial, maybe even mentally ill. There must be something wrong with you if you cannot maintain friendships like normal people. But Jung challenged that assumption completely. He said that more friends does not equal a better life. In fact, for empaths, having too many friends can be a sign that you are betraying yourself, that you are dimming your light to make others comfortable, that you are playing small so you do not threaten anyone, that you are sacrificing your authenticity on the altar of social acceptance. And here is the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to talk about. Most friendships are not based on genuine connection. They are based on convenience, proximity, shared superficial interests. People call each other friends because they work together, or live near each other, or went to the same school. But are they really friends? Do they actually know each other? Do they see each other? Or are they just two people wearing masks, pretending to connect while staying safely on the surface, never risking the vulnerability that real friendship requires? You cannot do that. Your system rejects it. You would rather be alone than fake a connection. And that is not a flaw. That is a feature. That is your integrity showing up. That is your soul refusing to settle for less than what it truly needs. So here is where everything shifts. The moment the empath realizes their solitude is not a prison, but a fortress. You have not lost friends. You have simply stopped settling for energy vampires. You have stopped forcing connections that do not feed your soul. You have stopped pretending to be someone you are not, just to avoid being alone. And that is terrifying at first, because loneliness is painful, because humans are wired for connection, because being alone triggers every abandonment wound you have ever carried. But there is a profound, life-altering distinction between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is when you abandon yourself to be with others, when you betray your truth to fit in, when you silence your voice to keep the peace. Solitude is when you come home to yourself, when you choose your own company over bad company, when you honor your need for depth, even if it means standing alone. And once you learn to be at peace in your own company, something incredible happens. You stop needing people to validate your existence. You stop seeking approval from those who cannot even approve of themselves. You stop waiting for someone to save you from the discomfort of being human. And in that space, you become sovereign. You become someone who can stand alone without falling apart. Someone who can be surrounded by people without losing themselves. Someone who can offer love and connection without depleting their own reserves. This is the shift Jung was talking about. From lonely to sovereign, from desperate for the many to patiently waiting for the few. And that brings us to the final resolution. How do you integrate this? How do you move from feeling broken because you have no friends to feeling empowered by your selectivity? First, you have to stop seeing your friendlessness as a failure. It is not. It is a boundary. A very necessary boundary that your soul has put in place to protect you from people who would drain you, dim you, or destroy you. Your lack of friends is not evidence that you are unlovable. It is evidence that you have standards, that you refuse to settle, that you value quality over quantity. Second, you have to understand that you are not looking for the many, you are looking for the few. The rare ones who can match your depth, the ones who do not flinch when you remove your mask, the ones who see your intensity and say, yes, more of that. Show me everything. Those people exist, but they are rare, and you will never find them if you are wasting your energy on shallow connections that go nowhere.
If you are filling your life with people who keep you on the surface, you will never dive deep enough to find the ones who live where you live. Third, you have to practice being comfortable in your own energy. Spend time alone. Get to know yourself. Learn what you actually think and feel when you are not absorbing everyone else's opinions. Build a relationship with your own soul, because the quality of your relationship with yourself determines the quality of every other relationship in your life. And finally, you have to trust the process. Trust that your isolation is temporary. Trust that the right people will find you when you stop chasing the wrong ones. Trust that your sensitivity is not a curse. It is a gift that will eventually lead you to the connections you have been craving your whole life. Let me be clear about something. You are not antisocial. You are selectively social. You are not broken. You are awake. You are not failing at relationships. You are refusing to participate in fake ones. And that takes courage. It takes strength to stand alone when the whole world is telling you to blend in. It takes wisdom to walk away from connections that do not serve you, even when you are desperate for companionship. And it takes faith to believe that better is coming, even when you have been waiting for a long time. But here is what Jung knew. Here is what he spent his entire life trying to tell people through his work on individuation and the development of the self. The ones who walk alone are not lost. They are finding themselves. And once you find yourself, once you truly know who you are, beneath all the conditioning and expectations, you become a magnet for the right people. Not the convenient people, not the people who tolerate you, but the people who celebrate you, the people who see your depth and want to dive in with you, the people who match your energy instead of draining it. You are the guardian of depth. You are the soul who perceives the nuances others overlook. You are the one who courageously engages with the emotions others strive to avoid. You are the spirit who refuses to participate in the widespread performance of superficiality when everyone else is merely acting a part. And this quality is not a burden you carry. It is a superpower you possess. But like any formidable gift, it demands a corresponding responsibility. The sacred duty to safeguard your inner resources. The responsibility to rigorously honor your intrinsic need for solitude. The responsibility to finally cease apologizing for being too much for people who are definitively not enough for you. Carl Jung believed that empaths, highly sensitive souls like yourself, are absolutely essential to the deeper evolution of human consciousness. You are the ones equipped to peer through the deceptive veil of lies. The ones who can sense the fundamental truth hidden beneath the surface. The ones who can consistently hold space for depth in a world that feverishly worships the shallow. But you cannot execute this vital task if you are allowing your spirit to be depleted by shallow or toxic associations. You cannot do this necessary work if you are constantly molding yourself, attempting to fit in with people who fundamentally do not understand you. You have to be willing to stand securely on your own ground, to trust that your current isolation is not a permanent state, and to believe, with unwavering certainty, that the right, resonant connections are worth the sustained wait. So, if you are an individual who currently has few or even zero true friends, I need you to absorb this message deeply. Let this truth anchor you. You are not navigating this aloneness by yourself. There are countless others exactly like you. Others who crave genuine, substantial depth. Others who are genuinely incapable of tolerating small talk. Others who would overwhelmingly prefer one authentic connection over 100 superficial ones. And I assure you, those people are actively searching for you too. But they will never find you if you are concealing your authentic self behind a facade, pretending to be someone you fundamentally are not. Therefore, deliberately take the mask off. Be authentically yourself. Own your profound depth. Practice selective sociability. Be completely comfortable with walking alone until the moment you find your people. Because they are unquestionably out there.
And when you meet them, you will not need confirmation. You will know instantly. You will feel it settle in your bones. That profound sense of finally being seen, finally being understood, finally arriving home. Your current friendlessness is not a life sentence. It is a rigorous, necessary purification process, a filtration system. And the specific, meaningful people who manage to make it through that filter, they are worth more than their weight in gold. So stop frantically chasing quantity. Start consistently honoring quality. Stop viewing yourself as broken. Start feeling inherently powerful. Stop apologizing for your intensity. Start owning it wholeheartedly, because you are not, in fact, too much. You have simply been around people who are not enough. And once you truly accept that fact, once you truly integrate that inescapable truth into the core of your being, everything shifts dramatically. You stop seeking external validation from those who are incapable of giving it. You stop dimming your powerful light just to make others feel comfortable. You refuse to settle for meager crumbs when a full feast is your birthright. And in that liberated space of radical self-acceptance, of unwavering self-love, of absolute self-sovereignty, you instantly become the unequivocally most magnetic version of yourself. The version that attracts the right people into your orbit effortlessly. The version that stands in complete self-possession, no longer requiring external friendships to feel whole. The version that is capable of offering genuine, high-quality connection precisely because you are no longer desperate for it. This inherent self-discovery is exactly what Jung meant when he spoke about the essential, demanding journey of individuation, of becoming truly whole, becoming who you really are, not who your parents pressured you to be, not who society endlessly expects you to be, but who your soul deliberately came here to be. And for empaths, that journey almost always requires walking alone for a significant while. It requires deliberately disengaging from connections that drain your vital essence. It requires trusting implicitly that solitude is a sacred retreat, not a sentence of sadness. It requires believing that the few are inherently better than the many. And it requires immense patience, because the right people are not always easy to locate. But when you do find them, when you finally connect with someone who sees you, who truly sees the essence of you, it instantaneously makes every lonely moment worth the price. It makes every rejected friendship make profound sense. It makes you deeply grateful that you held your ground, that you waited, that you trusted the often painful process, even when it hurt. So here is my crucial message to you. If you are finally ready to stop feeling guilt-ridden about your current friendlessness, if you are ready to own your urgent need for depth, if you are ready to accept that you are not broken, but magnificently discerning, then embrace it completely. Embrace your solitude. Embrace your intensity. Embrace your fierce inability to tolerate inauthentic connection, because that is not a weakness. That is your core strength. That is your filter. That is the architecture of your protection. And the people who manage to make it through that formidable filter will be the most essential people in your life. So do not rush the timing. Do not force connections that clearly do not fit. Do not apologize for needing what you profoundly need. Just trust. Trust that your particular path is intentionally different. Trust that your journey is profoundly valid. Trust implicitly that your period of friendlessness is a finite, necessary phase. And trust that the genuine connections you are meant to have are already actively moving toward you. You simply have to be patient enough to wait for them, strong enough to stand alone until they arrive, and wise enough to clearly recognize them when they do. You are the keeper of the deep. And if this message resonates with the truth inside you, if you finally feel genuinely seen and understood, then I encourage you to engage with this content, like this video, and subscribe, because we are actively cultivating a community of people who fiercely reject the mandate to settle. People who prioritize profound depth over fleeting superficiality. People who would rather walk a mile alone than compromise their inherent truth. And that community needs your specific, powerful perspective. So join us, engage with us, share your narrative in the comments below. Let us know which of these essential traits you recognize most strongly in yourself. Because you are not alone. You are an essential part of a rare and powerful group of people who are transforming the world simply by refusing to participate in the conventional, superficial game.
And that, my friend, is something profoundly worth celebrating.